Hello. In this video, I'll be reviewing the third book in the Ranger's Apprentice series, the Icebound Land. So, spoiler-free review. This is, first of all, it's just going to be a bit of a faster review, just because a lot of the stuff is kind of the same as the previous two books. So if you want to know kind of more about the Ranger's Apprentice series as a whole, then you can check out those videos. And I'll just be briefly touching on a couple of the individual things in this book throughout this video. So yeah, the spoiler-free review is that this book is just as good as the first two. I'd actually argue better, in my opinion. It's really cool, kind of seeing what the characters are up to, and, you know, they've been split up and seeing how they're trying to get back together. And I really think that this book just functions really well and just continues that cool Ranger's Apprentice vibe. So yeah, that's the spoiler-free review. Getting into spoilers, this is a slightly different book in the sense that they're not really up to that many Ranger shenanigans or anything. This book is kind of, it's kind of just two different parties, kind of doing what they got to do. So it's like, Horace and Holt are trying to find Will. And Will and Evelyn are just trying to survive. Although we get to see a little bit less of Will throughout this book, because towards the end he's just addicted to wormweed. But I think that this book sort of, how to say it? I think that it feels a little bit unfinished, because where this book kind of ends is kind of in the middle of nowhere. There's no kind of end point, so to speak. They just like arrive at the cabin and Will feels better, and then the book ends, and you're like, well, you know, we didn't really get anywhere. And that's fine, because obviously this all gets resolved in the next book, which I'm currently listening to, The Battle for Scandia, which is the best book in the series, in my opinion. But yeah, so I just say that, you know, the same thing I said about the characters in the previous book. The characters are all fun and interesting, but all the same stuff is true. You know, it's slightly more basic prose, but it's a fun, kind of wholesome story. And yeah, the only criticism I'd offer about this book is, like I said, it feels just a little bit unfinished. But it's fine, because, you know, you can just quickly move on to the next book and continue and treat it as one book. So that's all good. But in terms of what actually happens, like in terms of sort of plot, so we kind of see Will and Evelyn getting taken to Scandia by Eric. And, you know, you kind of see Will trying to escape, and then being turned into a slave and sort of being broken down by the addiction that he develops. I'd say that this works quite well. The only problem I have is the book tries very hard to make Eric, the guy who sells him into slavery, sympathetic, but because he helps him escape and stuff. But it's like, well, you sold him into slavery in the first place, so like I'm not really that sympathetic. With that said, I do like Eric later in the story, but that's just I just try and conveniently forget that he's actually sold him into slavery in the first place. You know what I mean? So that's my one problem I have with that. But I think that my favorite part of the series, though, is just the Holt. Some of my favorite part of the series, but definitely my favorite part of this book is like the Holt stuff, where Holt, it's really, in my opinion, it's really cool to see that loyalty he has to Will, the loyalty he's developed. So he gets himself banished. Oh no, I'm just dropping things, don't mind me. But yeah, he gets himself banished, just so he can go after Will, which I think is really cool, and it's just cool to see the loyalty he's got there. And I will say that just the scene where he gets himself banished is really fun and cool, where he's just insulting King Duncan until he's forced to banish him. I thought it was quite funny. But yeah, so just a bit of a shorter review. This is kind of same vibe as the first two books, just slightly different structure, where you now have it's not really Ranger stuff that they're up to, rather it's just them, you know, trying to get back together. But I think it worked really well, and I had a great time, and I would strongly recommend reading or listening to this book. The only criticism I would have is that, yeah, it does just feel a little bit unfinished. Sweet, I'll see you in the next one.